Welcome guys, this is Greenleaf Worm Farm. We're a local worm company here in Southwest Florida. And what we do is we do organic fertilizer and organic insecticide. We're going into our 5th year, so we're doing pretty good. And I'll just let you know how we guys got started. So if you just follow me into what is now the production room, we'll get started on how the company got founded. Okay guys, here we are in the production room. This is where it all started about 5 years ago. Now, how we started in the beginning is, in order to get the castings, you have to sift them and separate them from the worms. Also, you have to keep the worms at a certain temperature for maximum production. Well, we did the temperature control with a little wall shaker right there. We picked that up for $100 at Walmart and just put it in. And then we sifted them. Made this by hand out of 2x2s, 1/8" hardware cloth, and we sifted it by hand by putting it over a bin. Originally, we had the large bins, but wet, they weighed over 140 pounds apiece and they were too heavy to deal with. So we got rid of them after about 6 months and moved to our 14-gallon bins. Each one of these bins held approximately about 5,000 worms and could produce about 35 to 30 pounds of castings per bin. We used a 9/16 drill. Did this one on the large ones as well. Drilled some holes in here and screened everything in. Also screened the sides in like so and drilled them. Had some larger drain holes in the corner because we found over time that the water pooled in the corner, so we needed something bigger. We used a hole saw for that, a 1-inch hole saw for that. But anyway, we kept them on the shelves right here, and there used to be shelves going around the whole perimeter of this room. And there were over 65 bins here, and every 21 days there would be a section of shelving which consisted of 15 bins that were ready every 21 days. We dated them and marked them and rotated them. It was a lot of work in the beginning, but we got it off the ground, and after about 3 years, we saved a little money to go to the next stage, which I'll show you here in just a minute, guys. Here we are in the warehouse. We did this about 1.5 years, 2 years ago now. What we did is it's an all-metal building made by Orlando Steel Company, which I highly recommend for any of your metal building needs. The inside here, the material that you see here, there are 2 types of materials that we did. This is called Cyrene. This is the soft type, which is like the inside of your igloo cooler. This is the hard type, which you get because if you're bumping tools and what have you, when you're doing production, you want something solid. And this is soft. What it does is it cuts your bill down by about 45% as far as your heating and cooling. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is my rocket ship, which is the sifter. It is actually the idea I got from a trommel, which is used in mining, and it is a 7-foot tubular sifter that is used to sift the earthworms out. I made it out of junk, basically, and we make about 300 pounds an hour with this particular thing. It takes the place of 2 men, and the nice thing about it is I can turn it on when I need it, use it when I need it, and like I said, it's made out of 100% recyclable parts. Alright, now we're going to get into how I built it. All of this stuff I found in the trash, and these are 55-gallon water drums, water tanks, and cut in half, one in the front, one in the back. And if you look inside here, we have plastic baffles. Plastic baffles are very important. A lot of the sifters will try to use the metal baffles, and they will cut your worms into 1,000,000 little pieces. So that's important for breaking down the product as well. All of this is just a regular pipe. Come back here. This is a screen, which comes right off with duct tape, and we got straps that just come off. And then what's nice about it is when the screen goes bad, We can replace the screen or change out different thicknesses depending on what we need. Castings go down to the bottom. As you see, we've got some castings down here right now. Go in the tarp, we shovel out of here, which is right back here at the end of this, is where the worms stick to. The worms fall in one bin and the bigger chunks fall in the other bin, and they get repurposed back into the bin. This is basically a pool pump in the back here, connected with a Lovejoy connection. I'm going to run a little bit through here to show you the process. Now, we move this over here. We have the end open. Take our scoop. Run it right through here, like so. And as you see, the material falling down here and coming out the other end. We are at the worm bins. These are actually 7 people's ideas incorporated into one. They are 8 feet long, 4 feet wide, and you get about 12 to 1,300 pounds of material out of each one of these. If you notice down here, coffee grounds we add into the worms because that stimulates them to eat. We also have a strip of food down the middle, which are the black material that you see in the middle. We also have a watering system. It's a self-watering system. If you look behind you there on the wall, there's a faucet that is associated with each bin. Each bin has a timer, and it's regulated for a certain amount of time each day. And they come through comes through the main hose there and goes off to your main smaller hoses as well. And it keeps them pretty well at about 70% moisture, which we want to keep the worms at. We deal with African night crawlers in the bigger bins because they produce the most, because they're the largest worm that we deal with anyhow. And the best medium to use in the worm bin, whether you're starting a big commercial bin like this or just starting a small home bin, is peat moss and shredded paper. And the most important thing you can do, and we do the same thing with this, is turn your material, make sure there's no dry spots before you add your worms back into your bin. If you don't, the worms will hit the dry spot and they'll die. So that's the most important thing that a lot of new people who are just getting into vermicompost forget to do. Anyhow, we get about 18 inches of material in here because that's as far as the worm will go down into the ground. If you get it higher than that, you'll just have a bunch of wasted material. It won't be castings. So we run about 97% pure here at Greenleaf Worm Farm, and we keep it at a high standard. We keep it, and a lot of the stuff that you'll order online will have other materials in it that does not belong there, like your sticks and your stones and things like that. The bigger companies use that to add weight. We don't do that here. It takes a little more time, but we are all about customer service. They're on wheels. If you look down here, they're on casters. 8-inch casters is what we use. And they roll in and out. And they also have a door on the end, like so, that lifts up. And as it lifts up, we shovel out into the sifter over here. Okay guys, now we're going to get into the worm food that we touched on briefly when we talked about the bins. What it is your castings is only as good as the food that you feed your worms. Now, the first ingredient that we use, and you can get it anywhere, is Purina worm chow. As you see, it looks like this. Okay? The second ingredient that we use, Mexican tortilla mix, very fine, unrefined, white cornmeal mix called masa. You can get that in 50-pound bags at Walmart. Okay? The reason why we use all these different items is worms need diversity in their diet in order to produce the quality of castings that you get. And we use wheat flour here. Again, you can get that right at Walmart. And we use a couple of things that a lot of your bigger guys won't take the time to use. This is a material called azomite. This comes from Utah. It's very essential for your trace elements in your worm castings. This comes from the ancient seas out there, and it is 100% natural, 100% organic, unrefined product. There are over 100 trace elements in this item alone. So this is where you get a lot of your material from. Another thing I want to mention that is very important. A worm has a gizzard like a chicken. It does not have a mouth in the conventional means. It's more like a vacuum. Sucks it up and processes it to the gizzard. Now what it needs is, like a chicken, it needs grit. Grit basically translates to sand. What we use, volcanic sand. If you look at that, it looks like about the consistency of chopped up bricks. It's very abrasive, and we use that so they can process and grind down and separate the soil into its natural form. So that's what we use because it's a little bit better, and it also has your trace elements in it as well. Other trace elements that you won't get anywhere else. And another thing that we use, believe it or not to be too sarcastic, but a worm needs a cup of coffee just like you do in the morning. And I'll tell you why. Because it's very essential to do that, because it will stimulate them to eat. Not only stimulate them to eat, it will stimulate them to put on weight, which is essential for making baby worms. Because a worm is asexual or a hermaphrodite. They have both sex organs, so they do not need another worm to reproduce. By the way, now that we're on the subject, the worms are the oldest land animal on Earth. They have remained unchanged for 600 million years. They are the second oldest thing on the planet. The jellyfish is the oldest. Anyhow, you can get the coffee grounds. What I would suggest, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, any place like that where you get your coffee from, and you can use the grounds, but you can use the filters too. Filters are important because the filters will provide fiber for your worms, which is very important when you're making baby worms. Okay. Enough about that. Another thing I also use, you can get this at the feed store. You probably won't need near this much, but I use a 30-pound mineral block. They use it in cattle production. It has all of your vitamins for your worms, A through Z. You name it, it's in there. And it appears in the natural organic form. You want to get organic mineral block when you do this at the feed store. Very important you do that so you don't get the hormones in there and you don't get the chemicals in there. So this is natural organic mineral block that we use as well. Okay, I believe that's it on that one. Oh! Almost forgot. Sorry guys. Another thing I want to mention to you is it is very good to use certain types of manure in with your worm food, but you want to use a cold manure, not a hot manure like cow manure or horse manure or chicken manure. You don't want to use any of those for a couple of reasons. Your hormones, your growth hormones mainly, but also your antibiotics that they get will be transferred directly to you. Also, another thing that happens is it gets very hot. So what happens is you have to wait a year or so to use the product. So what you want is a cold manure. Goat manure, rabbit manure are the two cold manures, and worm castings, by the way. So that's what is also good about this product. You want to use your goat poop or your rabbit poop, whatever you have. A lot of times the guys who have rabbits will pay you to haul it off. A lot of times the guys that have goats will pay you to haul it off. Or you can always make a trade as well. We do a lot of bartering because we are a green business. We do a lot of bartering. Just wanted to touch on that briefly. Okay, that's it for the worm food. Okay, this is out behind the warehouse, and these are the storage bins that we have for our worm food. This is the coffee grounds, and you guys can do this. You guys can do this at home to attract the Florida night crawlers. I found one of their eggs. Here's how small the worm eggs actually are, and that's what one looks like. You notice the roundish amber color. Inside each one of these capsules is between 5 and 20 worms. Now, I'm going to get in here and stir it around, and you'll see our little friends in here. Now, I know it's dark, so it may not come out the way you want it to, but here's kind of an idea. All of these worms came naturally. Came right out of the ground. If you notice the different sizes here, you got the big guy here, and you got the little guys here. And you can do the same thing on a small scale by putting your coffee grounds right out in a section of the backyard or something, and just leaving them there, and you come back in the following morning and you'll have 5 or 6 worms underneath your coffee filter. So that's just a little way of getting your own worms. Won't cost you a dime. This is the goat poop that we get from the farms, like I mentioned. We also use cardboard. All of our shipping containers, all of our corrugated cardboard, we use corrugated cardboard for a couple of reasons. It's got these little sections in here, and the worms get in here and raise their babies. So it makes a good nursery for the worms. Also makes a good cover on the top because worms like it dark. The darker it is, the better it is. If there's any light, they'll stop working. So that's another thing to keep in mind. You don't want to raise them in white bins or anything like that. You want a darker color because you want it, like I mentioned, you want to keep it as dark as you possibly can in there. Another thing that we do is we have an extra storage bin. Right now we had season, but generally in off season, this is filled with castings. This is our excess storage. We can put about 2 tons in here. And as you can see, we've had a busy season, so there is none in there right now. This is where we store the peat moss. It's usually stored up to the roof and out. We use Canadian peat moss. You get it right down at Home Depot. You probably wouldn't need nearly this much, but we use 40-pound bales. That's what we normally use in those big bins. But for you guys at home, 2 or 3 2-pound bag is more than adequate to do anything you could possibly need. And you mix it in with your office paper and the corrugated cardboard, and you got the bedding that you're looking for. Tried them all. That works the best. Okay, out here in the carport where we make our worm tea, which is a natural insecticide and fungicide. It is made from the earthworm castings. You can use it in any size container, but we usually use this 88-gallon water tank here. And what we do is, this is a regular laundry bag that you can get at Walmart for about $3. We take a pound of the castings and fill it up about a pound, and then we take some alfalfa, a handful of alfalfa, put it in there, zip it up. What we do is, and what you can do, is use grandma's molasses. You get that right at Walmart. We use 6 jars of grandma's molasses for the 88 gallons in here. That's to give the microbes some food to eat. Stir it around for a couple of days, and then you have your worm tea. And that's basically it. We use 100% rainwater, which has a lot more trace elements than your standard city water or anything else. And you can't use city water because it has chlorine and fluoride in it, which takes 24 hours to evaporate. So you want to use and if you use purified water, it purifies a lot of your living microbes out of your water. So you don't want that either. So you want to use rainwater when you make worm tea. It's kind of important. And that's basically, when it comes out of here, it's a concentrate. And it's in the concentrated form, and we bottle it up in the water bottles. And the water bottles make usually about 4 gallons per 16 ounces of the concentrate. That's how it works. And there's 88 gallons of concentrate that we make at a time out of here. And that's basically it for the worm tea. A lot of people it will say aerate them, but here in the tropics we found if you aerate it too much, you're going to overpopulate your microbes and they will eat all of their food, and you will just have brown water in the end. So what we do is we do a cold filter process through the pump, and it works very well as far as stabilizing your tea for the 90 days that we're looking for. Give it a shelf life. Worm tea is important for a couple of things, because worm tea will get rid of the things that are untreatable. It will get rid of your spider mite, it will get rid of your white flies, black spot, black mold, tomato blight, a lot of the things that your conventional sprays will not get rid of, because it's a natural product, and the microbes that are in here that come from inside the earthworm will attack these problems, and it'll attack them naturally, and it's not a synthetic that lays on the leaf. It actually solves the problem at its source. It won't kill your aphids only, it'll kill the eggs that they lay as well, so they won't come back. And it's a very diverse product. You can use it on everything from your bonsais to your pitcher plants to your orchids, all the way down to your fruits and vegetables. And you can spray it on your crops and eat them the same day. It is 100% natural, 100% organic. And you can also treat everything like you'll see on the website. You can treat the things that are untreatable with this.
You can find us on the web at www.greenleafwormfarm.com.